Hey, what's up, everybody? Jonathan Zunger here, Ripten TV. I'm here with David Hayter. Just fresh. Good.
Hello. Nice to see you, Ripten.
You may know him as the voice of Solid Snake, as he just demonstrated. But he just announced that we have the Lost Planet movie coming out, and you will be writing the script.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, very excited.
So tell me, what attracted you to do the script? What was it? Was it the massive bugs, energy crisis, what?
Yeah, well, it was all those things. I got a call from Avi Arad, who I've done a couple of movies with, and he was producer at Marvel, who brought us X-Men and Spider-Man and all these amazing films. And when Avi calls me with a project, I take it extremely seriously, and he asked me about Lost Planet, which I hadn't played, but they gave me a copy of the game, which is the benefit of my job. Free video games, and I went home, I put it in, and I thought it was amazing. I thought the visuals were astounding, and as I got further into it, I realized that it was a very, the story was very applicable to where we're at in the world right now in terms of dwindling energy supplies, what we're going to do, how, where else can we look for energy to power the world, and it's not only about that, but it's about how much they mess up the world that they go to get the energy. They screw with the atmosphere, they try to warm the planet, and in doing so they unleash these giant insects and cause themselves massive problems. So to me, I never just look for the set pieces or the action of it. I want to know what's going to hook everybody in the world.
Right.
On the X-Men movies, it was about bigotry, it was about divisionism, and that sort of applied to everybody. Everybody could relate to that. And now, with the situation we're in terms of energy production and depletion, I think everybody can get this and still be put through a roller coaster ride of action.
Of course. I heard you talk to another interviewer about heroes and why you're drawn to movies and scripts that have like heroics in them. Why is that? And in your words, what exactly is a hero?
Well, I think a hero is somebody that eventually learns that they need to sacrifice their own needs for the needs of other people. Why I'm attracted to those stories, I don't know. I think it's partially because I traveled the world when I was a kid. We moved a lot when I was a kid. I went to many different schools. I was always sort of the new kid, and a lot of times I faced, bullies and persecution and all the things that you go through being the new kid at school. And I learned to fight, and I learned to be to defend myself, and in the end, it made me a better person, a stronger person. And so I really identify with characters, especially like Wolverine in the X-Men movies. There's a guy who's just been so dumped on his whole life. Yeah. And this applies to Solid Snake as well. These are guys who've tried to do the right thing again and again and are just continually attacked and dumped on, and yet in the end they will still sacrifice their own needs to save the broader good. So.
And do you think that will come forth in the Lost Planet movie as well? Is that a theme that you really want to inject in there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I mean, not to boil myself down too much, but I think all of my movies will be about, people put into extreme situations where they're really tested as human beings, and how they discover who they truly are really impacts the world around them. So that's the story that I like to put out.
And the world seems to be really reacting to that. I mean, superhero movies are so popular these days. Just like the hero is so vital.
Well, the hero's journey, of course, has always been with us, and it's always been, in a way, everybody is the hero of their own movie, and everybody feels, sort of persecuted and put down, and everybody's trying to figure out how do I react in a way that is, positive, not only for me, but for the world. And so I think that story will always apply universally, but the reason why comic book movies are coming out now and really being embraced is because there was this whole huge cache of stories and characters and worlds that hadn't been exploited because the studios couldn't see past Spider-Man, Superman, Batman.
Right.
And when we did X-Men, we sort of illustrated that something outside of the big three could impact people, and then suddenly there was this explosion. Hollywood realized there's just 60 years of comic books that they can go back and mine for great stories.
Right,
so
right.
It's a good time to be a fan.
Especially with Iron Man. Was it hard for you to get them to realize that these are real stories and they're not just like comic book stories? And with Lost Planet as a video game, is it tough to sometimes get them to realize like, hey, this is a real story here? You know?
Yeah, it is hard, and it was hard, especially on the first X-Men, because the studio they weren't of that mindset yet. And Bryan Singer, who directed that film, was not making a comic book movie, had never read a comic book. He was making a real movie. He was making Usual Suspects with mutants,
right.
And he took it as seriously as anything, and I took it seriously because I was a fan. So it was difficult to get them to do it then. Now, I've got a number of big movies behind me, and I'm a little freer at the studio to say, no. Here's how it needs to be done. I've got a track record now that says, I know what I'm talking about to a certain extent,
right.
And I'm able to impress that upon the studios. And I think in the end, they make more money for it, you know?
Definitely.
And I think Iron Man is a great example. Great script,
awesome.
Totally applicable to the real world, a great hero's journey, a guy who really discovers how to be a better man, and combined with great effects and great set pieces.
Yeah.
Well, you can't beat it, you know? If you just throw a bunch of crap out there, well, you're going to make less money.
Right.
You know?
Are you excited for The Dark Knight?
I'm very excited for The Dark Knight. I mean, that really looks like they really, made it real world.
And really human, too. Like, it's always been about psychology and, very human.
Exactly, exactly. Batman's one of my favorite characters, and I'm thrilled with what they're doing with it now. And I think that, Chris Nolan got to, get his feet wet with the first one, and obviously made a big impact with it. And so this time, I know the studio's going to be behind him, and he's going to have all the money in the world.
Sweet.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.